I don't know how do you exactly rate the school subjects? Because I think almost every school subject is probably necessary. I guess I rate them on how much I liked them, right? So if I'm rating them on like how important they are, all of these are for the most part important. So I'll rate them on like how much I like them, how much I enjoy taking them. We can start off with one that is kind of maybe one of my lesser ones, which is chemistry. And so like my experience with chemistry, I don't know if anybody else experiences this. This was my worst science. I sucked at chemistry. It was like the only class that like I struggled in high school. I was mostly like an A or like, you know, maybe a B kid, but chemistry for some reason like freaked me the fuck out. I think part of it was I was like a year ahead in science. Everybody in my chemistry class was like a year older than me, and I didn't know any of them, and that really like intimidated me. I didn't know how to talk to anybody. It was really scary for me. So that definitely had a hand in it. But also the fact that like I sucked so much ass at the labs. Like for some reason I was just terrible at labs. I don't know why. Maybe shaky hands or not able to follow instructions at that age. I don't fucking know. And the labs weren't really that interesting either. A lot of times it was just like, oh, here's a pipette, do some crazy shit with it, or oh, combine this and this, and wow, crazy. It's salt. I don't know. Chemistry for me was kind of on a low tier. You got to make ice cream in chemistry? That's pretty cool. Yeah, like the best day of chemistry was like the liquid nitrogen day. That was pretty sick.
Do a tier list on workplace misconduct.
I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, so for me personally, my chemistry teacher was really good. I'll say that. Like they were a really good teacher. I sucked at this class, and rating on how much I liked it, it's not very high. Maybe a C or a D. Like I don't know if I'm gonna really hate any of these. We'll see, I guess. My teacher was honestly good in chemistry. I just sucked at it. So my overall like enjoyment of it was bad. Like when I had to go to chemistry class, it was like a very dreadful feeling because I was like, oh god, here we go again, you know? So this next one is interesting. Art. So like if we're just going off purely my experiences in art class were really bad like once I hit middle school. In elementary school, art was like awesome. I always had art teachers who were like in love with me. They were like, oh, you rock, like you're into art. You're like a dude who draws. That's really weird. And I had great art classes, and it was sick. And you know, I'd get my art hung up in like local places and shit. I was like, this rules. And then I got to middle school, and the art teacher fucking sucked. It was like this like weird old person, and they were like strict, pretentious, you know? And then you get to high school and it's the same thing. Pretentious art. My art teacher in high school like hated my guts for whatever reason. They told me that one of my projects looked like a cat, their grandma's cat vomited all over it. That's what they told me to my face. So at that point I started to hate like traditional art. I grew up very artsy. I have parents who went to school for art, but like traditional art is so fucking annoying. You gotta do this and this and this. Why can't we just draw what we want to draw? That's what art should be about. So honestly, my experiences with art in school, I love art, but in school were really bad. So like D, I hated going to art class. It sucked. Art rules though. So people coming in here later are gonna be like mad at me, like, oh, you idiot. Biology, I guess my most recent example of this is I took it in college because I took some anatomy classes, and it was actually really fun. I think this class like kind of rules. I think that's like a really fun science class, right? Most people like biology. That's like their favorite science, right? It's like the fun one. It's like you learn about animals and cells. So I don't know if I have a unique experience here. I learned Spanish in high school. I think that's pretty common, probably. But for me, I found this class really enjoyable. And I thought I was really good at it. It was really easy for me to learn Spanish. And I didn't take very much of it, so I probably would have sucked at it if I got farther. In the 2 years that I took it, like I was like, this is fucking easy. This rules. It rocked. Honestly, it rocked really hard. I think all kids should learn foreign languages even earlier in life. History is an interesting one. To me, history was like one of the easiest classes you could take. I think most kids felt that way. It was like a really easy class in high school. And I had a really good teacher. Personally, I know like if you have a bad history teacher, this class like sucks ass. My history teacher rocked. Like they were awesome. Like they made it so fun. Like it was fun to learn about history. So honestly, like this was an A for me. Financial literacy. So I never had this class. I don't know actually if it was even offered at my school. It might have been. I think it should be. I think this is really important because I've never taken this. If we were basing this on like how important these subjects are, then I think financial literacy would honestly be like top of the list. Quite honestly, people do not prepare kids to be good with their finances. I think a lot of kids don't know how to even handle money or have never seen it by the time they're going into college, and Oh, oops, now you have to pay $20,000 in loans every year. Oopsie doopsie. Yeah, you need to know how to embezzle money, exactly. So this might be a controversial take, but I loved English. I have friends who hated English. Like a lot of kids at my school hated English. I loved English. I've always really liked writing. Reading is fine, but writing is what like gets my socks off. See, there's Echogenic. He hated English. He went to my school. English though, like I love writing, dude. I wrote one of Echo's papers one time because he didn't want to. I like writing that much. I would get my work put in the school journals and shit, and I just liked writing. I always liked it since I was a kid. I went to like a writing competition when I was a kid. So this was like my wheelhouse, and I always had good teachers too, for the most part. For me, like English is like an S. I almost went to college for English. I don't know, I like it. And I even like public speaking now. I used to not like that in high school, but in college, I ended up kind of liking public speaking sometimes. Okay, math. A lot of these coming up are like pretty good, in my opinion. Math, like rocks. Like I honestly, okay, so here's my issue. I'm gonna put it in A. My experience in college with math was an easy S. My experience in high school with math, for some reason, I just kept getting I kept getting bad luck. I kept getting the bad teachers. My teachers sucked, but I still liked it. I still liked math, even though my teachers were annoying. Math was pretty goddamn good. Like trigonometry specifically is probably my favorite math. Calculus is pretty good too. I wasn't as much into like geometry. Like trigonometry slaps. Like trigonometry was like actually fun. Like when trigonometry came around, I was like, oh, this just clicks. Like this is just like the best math. So music, the only time I took a music class was in, well, like middle school and elementary school. I didn't take a music class in high school. So this is a weird one because I love playing the guitar and I love playing the drums. I'm not really much into like traditional playing though. I never learned traditionally how to play music other than in those music classes where you basically just learn how to play like stupid fucking songs on the piano. So like in school, music wasn't as good. Cause you're like, oh, I gotta like do hot cross buns on the keyboard. Like it's just like, I don't know. In school, I wasn't as into music, but in real life, music is based. So it's kind of a tough one. Maybe I'll put it in C. I wasn't into music theory, but I love playing the guitar and drums and keyboard like in my own personal life, you know? So it's a tough one. All right, physics. Okay, so in my opinion, physics is the best science class. That's my opinion. For me, it clicked. It's mostly math and logic based. It has the best labs because you get to like actually do shit. You know, you go outside and you measure shit and you're like, oh, cool. It's just logic. It's like, and the things that you learn feel like they apply to real life. When you learn chemistry, you're like, oh, okay, sure. Here's all the fucking noble gases. How is that gonna help me in my life? Chemistry, teacher, how is this applicable? Oh, well, it's not because nobody would ever fucking mix these two things and make salt in their daily life. Physics just makes sense. I would give this an S. I think that's an S-tiered class. I guess, what social studies classes did I take in high school? Honestly, a lot of them were pretty good, now that I think about it. I think I took like psychology, economics, geography. Some of those classes are good, some of those are bad, but most of them are pretty good. Like social studies for the most part was pretty fun. I mean, psychology is like probably my favorite class I've ever taken, honest. If we were just saying like psychology, then that would be S, but if we're just gonna mix them all together, I mean, overall, yeah, it's a pretty solid experience. It was a good class. Usually a social studies class was good. Technology. I mean, look, just gonna give that an S. It was always up my wheelhouse. I mean, computer science or even like, you know, like keyboarding class or computer lab. I mean, all that stuff was like right up my alley because I was a fucking geek who just stayed at home on my computer all day. So like this shit always came really easy to me. It was always the best part of the day. You get to go into the computer lab and go on the computer. The best fucking part of the day. All day you're like dealing with a pencil and a piece of paper. For, you know, an hour you get to go on the computer. So I mean, I don't know, that's an S. I honestly, maybe I'd put that at the top. Okay, technically I did kind of take a woodworking class in like middle school. So I guess I can rate this one. For me, this is a good class. This is a really good class. I had some bad experiences in it that were maybe more personal, but like, I think this is a good class. Woodworking rocks. Like, I could see myself doing woodworking as like a really old adult, like maybe as like a hobby. So yeah, I don't know, I would rate this one pretty highly. It's hard for me to really think deeply about it because it's been so long. Because like I said, last time I took a class like this was like 6th grade or some shit. So I mean, I don't know, I give woodworking a B. I think it's a solid class. Okay, here's some controversy. Geometry. The only math class I didn't like. I loved math class growing up. I love trig, I love algebra. Like I said, I love calculus. I went to school for computer science, so I took a lot of math classes. I did discrete mathematics, I did linear algebra, you do all that shit, right? It was all fine to me, from a scale of fine to fun. Geometry is the worst one for me. Like, shapes are cool, but like, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. It's just so boring. Every fucking problem is just solve for the area of this, solve for the, it's just boring. It's really, really boring to me. Yeah, prove the triangle is a triangle. I don't know, it's the most boring math. Proofs suck. No, proofs are the worst part of math. Yeah, geometry wasn't that hard. I mean, you know, I was like a year or two ahead in math always. I don't know. Maybe for me, if we're gonna be honest here, I'll put chemistry lower and geometry lower. We'll do like that. Just so we can have some in F, because those were just terrible experiences for me in school. All right, physical education. Okay, so this is an interesting one too. Now, you know, honestly, it's tough to put one in F because it wasn't that bad. I think running rocked. I loved playing football. I loved playing baseball. I liked playing badminton and a lot of those like you know, even tennis, even though I kind of sucked at tennis, but I liked tennis. Volleyball, all the net sports. There were some that I didn't like soccer. I didn't really like soccer or basketball, but those were all pretty fun, right? And when you play games, yeah, dodgeball, honestly, dodgeball's pretty fun. Swimming, not so great. Now, here's the problem. I had a terrible physical education experience because my teacher and other classmates were complete pieces of shit. I hated going to physical education because I hated the fucking teacher with a passion, because he just had it out for me for no reason. Even though I was good at some of the sports. Like, I was actually pretty decent at football and baseball. Yeah, I was okay at running, obviously. So like, I liked some of the things we would do in gym. Like, as a kid, I liked gym class. But in high school, that teacher pretty much made it a living hell for me. And so like, for me, like this sucked. Also, in high school, PE becomes a little less about the games. In fact, actually, after that teacher left, and I went into the class with the other teacher, the other gym teacher, the new one, he was actually a lot better, and gym was like way more bearable. And then it was actually kind of fun again. But I don't know, just because I had that one really shitty teacher, I have to give it an F. It was like literally like the worst. It was like the worst part of the day. Yeah, all right, so that's my school subjects tier list. I think I'm pretty confident in this, looking at it. Obviously, some of these classes could have been higher if the teachers didn't suck, or, you know, I personally had a bad time, but this is how it went for me. This is mostly based on high school, but this was a good tier list, actually. This allowed me to like explain a lot.